Article 123 of the Constitution of India, which provides for the power to promulgate ordinances during recess of Parliament, has certain very specific trigger phrases. And these trigger phrases need to be activated in order to shift the burden of lawmaking from the legislative institutions to the executive. And that trigger phrase, Mr. Speaker, sir, is that circumstances exist which render it necessary for him to take immediate action. The reference to for him is a reference to the Honorable President of India. Therefore, the two key words which need to be triggered before Article 123 can be invoked are circumstances and necessary action. Unfortunately, Mr. Speaker, sir, in the instanced case, none of those circumstances existed as on the 26th of June 2020 when the said ordinance was promulgated. At a point in time when our GDP growth rate had been in a free fall for 7 quarters preceding the lockdown, and when all economic activity during the lockdown had come to a complete standstill, there was absolutely no rationale for promulgating this ordinance, especially when the Banking Regulation Amendment Bill was under consideration in this very House. The more appropriate thing for the Honorable Finance Minister to do would have been that she could have very well withdrawn the bill when this session commenced, and she could have brought another bill with all the necessary amendments for the consideration of this House. This resort to the ordinance route in order to make laws is something which undermines the majesty of the Parliament, and it only exacerbates the attack on our legislative institutions. My second point, Mr. Speaker, sir, is that this particular ordinance falls foul of Article 123(3) of the Constitution of India also. The objective of this ordinance is to bring district central cooperative banks and urban cooperative banks under the control and the supervision of the Reserve Bank of India. However, this particular ordinance falls foul of entry 32, list 2 of the state list. While I concede that banking is within the purview of the union list in terms of entry 45, but the hair splitting which the Honorable Finance Minister has attempted by trying to segregate primary agricultural credit societies, long-term credit societies from district cooperative banks and implement the same template in the urban areas also, with great respect, may I say, is going to create utter mayhem in the agricultural economy, if not anarchy, because of the symbiotic linkage between or linkages between the primary agricultural credit societies and long-term credit lending societies and the district cooperative banks. The final point that I would like to stress and underscore, Mr. Speaker, sir, is that the record of the Reserve Bank of India with regard to being able to preempt malfeasance or what is colloquially called scams in the banking sector is very mixed. I do not want to belabor that Yes Bank, the Punjab and Maharashtra Cooperative Bank, the Island FS, Dewan Housing, to name a few of the instances of malfeasance which have taken place when these institutions were under the superintendence, the direct superintendence of the Reserve Bank of India. May I humbly submit, Mr. Speaker, sir, that the Reserve Bank of India in itself is a conflicted institution by design. It is the regulator of the banks, it is the investment banker of the government, It is the owner, operator, regulator, and player in the bond market. It is the manager of the government's credit and monetary policies. It is the foreign exchange regulator, and it is the currency regulator, and the list goes on, and it is endless. If there is a need to bring about substantive reform, the need is to unscramble this egg called the Reserve Bank of India and segregate its various functions by spinning them off into different instrumentalities so that the primary function of the Reserve Bank of India, that is the regulator of the Indian banking system, can be properly discharged. My humble appeal, Mr. Speaker, sir, through you to the Honorable Finance Minister is, let's leave the cooperative sector alone. If there have been instances of malfeasance in district cooperative central banks, in urban local cooperative banks, there are as many success stories, if not more, which have played themselves out over the past 7 decades. State governments are more than competent to discharge their function, and in a federal polity, this ordinance and the bill which seeks to replace it, Mr. Speaker, sir, is a frontal assault on the federal structure of the Constitution, and this will have long-term implications on the democratic polity of India. May I once again, through you, Honorable Speaker, sir, urge the Honorable Finance Minister to withdraw this bill and let this ordinance be disapproved by a statutory resolution. Otherwise, this House will be witness to another blow which is being dealt through federalism, and which I earlier stated would have long-term implications on the polity of this country. I thank you very much, Speaker, sir, for giving me this opportunity.